Alright, are we ready? Start. Our audio should be good. Hey everyone, Jason here. I'm going to admit, yesterday I felt like a complete, total consumer. Anytime Apple or anybody has made somewhat of a big change, or there was some discovery where there was a lot of talk going on, suddenly every single problem that anybody had all of a sudden became the fault of that thing. I'm talking about iOS 11. iOS 11, I have paid absolutely hardly any attention to until yesterday when I started receiving phones that were behaving strangely, and then all of a sudden every single problem that I had all day yesterday, I don't care if it was a blown light bulb, I was blaming it on iOS 11, and I sort of still am today. I had really weird problems with boot looping phones, and it seems like every phone that I worked on that had iOS 11 would go Apple logo, blank screen. Apple logo, and then it would boot. I had one that did it a couple of times and then booted. So I feel like I got some work to do sitting down and researching exactly what all has been changed with iOS 11, but I had all this going on yesterday, and at the same time, we have a phone checked in that is described as having power issues after an iOS 11 update. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to record a video on it and see what's going on. So let's see what we're up against. I have not looked at this phone whatsoever. This is completely new to me. Here is the phone. Now, while that phone's... Is that really like... it lines up perfectly with the light bulb above my head. That's lovely. Okay, so before I get started on this, I am going to read what the customer said about this device. I'm going to look at his original request, and it says, when I downloaded iOS 11... and the battery first died, the Apple logo kept flickering and it wouldn't turn on. I left it on the charger overnight and it worked in the morning. Then, that night, same thing. I woke up and the phone wouldn't turn on at all. I took it to the Apple store and they hooked it up to a sensor that said the phone won't turn on. Like, you think? They said it would need a new logic board. Is that something you guys can do? Thank you for the help. Okay, and then I promptly responded to this guy and said, no, we can't replace the logic board. We actually repair them. I'm not going to take the gamble on buying used logic boards and reselling them. So let's have a look at this thing. Honestly, my personal opinion, this sounds like a bad battery, and it sounds like a bad battery that was left sitting and boot looping long enough to kick the phone into DFU mode. So I don't know. I feel like I'm going to have a DFU mode phone, but let's find out. We are going to take this thing apart, and I'm going to take this thing apart in front of a camera so that everything that could possibly go wrong will go wrong. So we've got our little magnet pad, we've got our phone. Let's see, what else do I need for this job? Oh, I need tools. And we need the proper end of the phone. Let's see, we're missing one pin lobe. Let's pull the other one out. Yeah, I had some really screwed up weird power problems yesterday, and I actually had a couple of phones that I was going to no fix over it. It's like, you sent this here for touch failure, and this is what's going on? Now, one other common denominator that I would like to point out, I had 3 phones yesterday that were doing this boot looping crap on me, and 2 out of 3 of those phones had aftermarket batteries in them. So let's keep that in mind. I feel like there's going to be a ton of people out there that know a lot more about this update than I do. And I haven't been living under a rock. I've been living under the microscope. And I need to make more time to pay attention to what's going on in the outside world. Now, God help me, if this is another seriously long screw damaged phone, I'm going to have a fit. People do not like to hear about this long screw damage, because when it gets to be bad enough, I know fix it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and run those traces for a maybe. I've learned to choose my battles. And there's still a fair amount of long screw damage that I will take in, but if I see that the bottom left hole on an iPhone 6 is like all the way loose, not me. No way in hell. Unless it's for data. I'll still do it for data recovery. Did I lose a screwdriver? No, I cleaned up for a video. That's what happened. I didn't lose a screwdriver. Okay. So let's continue to get this thing taken apart. Now, I haven't done anything to this yet. I haven't... And I really should have, because it's not like a liquid damage phone. I really should have hooked it up and see if we draw any current on USB, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And at the same time, just before we do that, let's go ahead and check battery voltage. And the battery voltage on this here iPhone 6 Plus, what do you want to bet on? Oops, we're on ohms. I'm going to go through all this, and we're going to have touch failure. All right, so this battery is at a 0.5 volt. That's pretty typical for a bad battery. And let's see what we get in the way of charging current. Now you're not going to be able to see. I don't have on-screen current here for the USB rail, and I don't have a camera on my current meter, so you're just going to have to take my word for it. I'm not going to lie. Just like I'm not going to lie about your long screw damage. It's like, oh, I have had a couple of people that just really didn't take it very well. You know, not just long screw damage, but a couple of the other things. And I want to say something. I would much rather make you happy and take your money for making you happy than I would make up some bullshit about what's wrong with your phone. If there's any way that I can fix it reliably and collect money for it, that's really what I'm here for. I'm not going to make up some bullcrap lie about what's wrong with it just to not have to work on it. That lazy bone, like, I don't have that laziness in my soul. Like, I'm not going to make up bullshit just to get out of working. I mean, seriously, come on. Okay, so let's hook up the USB rail to this thing, and we get... That didn't feel good at all. We didn't get a nice firm pop. We get 0 volts. I mean, not zero volts. I'm getting 0 amps through the USB current meter. Let's just make sure this is plugged in. Okay, we're still getting 0 amps. The next thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to, let's see. I would like to get, I'm going to check and see if we've do indeed have 5 volts coming from the USB rail. And I think with what I just did there, I've given myself a slot. It's going to be a fucking dirty charge port. Okay, I'm trying to get right in under everything without shorting the 5 volt rail. Look at this, there it is. Okay, I am getting 5 volts on the USB rail. So there is 5 volts coming into this thing. And what do we get right at the battery rail? 0.65. This is going to be Tristar failure, guys. Oh, I just almost bet you this is going to be Tristar failure. This is loose. You know, the factory adhesive here on the dock flex, that's loose, so somebody has tried a dock connector on this. Let's go ahead and disconnect the screen assembly. Okay, so let's take the rest of these screws out of this thing, and when am I ever going to learn? I'm always putting myself in the position to trust somebody else and trust. Let's try a dot connector. Let's grab. My inventory system is really lovely. I used to be all screen repair and all basic stuff up until about a year ago. And I guess I'm stuck in this transitional phase where I've got my inventory's all messed up. Do I not have a 6 Plus dot connector laying like right here? How could this even happen to me? You know what? No. I know I've got 6 Plus dot connectors here. I've got a whole bag full of them, but I'm not going to dig for them right now because as soon as I start to do that and try to save myself the trouble, I'm going to go through all that, and then this 6 Plus is going to wind up needing the board pulled anyway to finish this repair. So let's go ahead. Let's just finish our little teardown here. Let's go ahead and disconnect these little dudes. Disconnect that little dude. Our antenna cable down here. I do have to say, it is a little bit strange, guys. This guy developed this problem after the update. Now, is this just the consumer phenomenon? where it's like the placebo effect, where somebody tells you about it and then all of a sudden your whole world starts to fail. And it is all the fault of whatever demon it is that you're worried about. I just lost a screw. Did I really? We don't really care about screw positions anyway. We can just put these things back in here anywhere. I worked on one phone today. I don't know where the short screws were at. They were all gone. Like, there wasn't a single short screw in the shield. And it came in for touch failure. And God help me, the phone did boot. And it did, in fact, have visible gray bar flickering touch failure. But the screw holes were detached. They were detached. They were pulled all the way off the board. And it was here for touch failure. And you could turn the board up on the side and look. And you could see the multiple layers of the board pulled apart, and it's like, how the fuck do you have an image? Like, oh no. Okay, where are we at here? We've just about, let's see, I've got all the goodies disconnected. We are going to carefully raise this logic board out. Funk. And we're going to wiggle, 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 pop, pull. And disconnect this little dude down here. Clink. All right, so our logic board is out. We're going to set these screws aside, and the very next move for me is to grab a known working iPhone 6 Plus test housing with a known working battery in it. And we're going to pop this in this known working test housing with a known working battery, and because I'm so sure of myself, it's going to make a total jackass out of me. I don't know why I'm hooking up the screen. I just am. My dot connector has a little tear in it. That's fucking lovely for this test, isn't it? All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to check the voltage on the battery in my test housing. Should be fairly decent. 4 volts, that's a full battery. And now with my battery in it, and this torn, fucking shit. There's a tear in the flex on this dot connector. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's there, by God. We're going to go ahead and see if we get charging current. No, zero current. And, you know, we did have 5 volts making it to the board, I know that. But I have had 5 volts making it to the board before, and it still be the damn dot connector. So this thing is not getting... Hang on. It's not getting a lick of current through the 5 volt USB rail. Let us have a look and make sure that this phone will boot. Okay. This is going to be a booter. This is going to be a Tristar failure. Damn it. I was hoping that I would get to demonstrate some sort of a weird flaky power problem, but this is just going to be a Tristar failure. So he really don't know that this was a Tristar failure. Let's read this again. Or he really don't know that this is related to the update. Let's read this again. When I downloaded iOS 11 and the battery first died, the Apple logo kept flickering. Sounds pretty typical for like a battery that was drained to dead, right? Hard to say. I'm still going to blame Tristar. Okay, so this phone does boot. We're going to go ahead and slide to power off. We should give it a minute to shut down here. Let it properly unmount the file system. Okay, that's probably proper, right? Let's kick my screen aside. Oh, the tear in this flex cable. Is it bad enough to prevent this from charging? Is it? Is it? Is it? Let's verify that real quick. Okay. To verify that, I am going to take, let's see, a known working, let's see, 6S Plus. 6 Plus. I'm going to take a known working 6 Plus board, and I'm going to pop it into this housing. And I'm only going to hook up battery. And I'm going to hook up dock flex. And we're going to check charging current on the USB rail. And I get 0.9 amps. 0.8, 0.7, 0.9123. We are doing good. So this board is actually booting, and it is charging on my gimped up dock flex. So we know that the connector in this housing is good because I just watched it work. So let's kick my housing aside, my screen aside. We're going to kick this test board aside, and we are going to move on with a Tristar repair. So we're going to start warming up the bottom of the board here. I got a little liquid damage paranoid there for a minute. These tweezers really suck for what I'm doing right here. We'll make it work though. So we're just going to warm this up until the board falls out from under it, which works on every shield except for the shield on the opposite side. Okay, there we go. Now the shield is removed. The next thing I'm going to do is hook it to the table. Okay, now here begins our iPhone 6 Plus Tristar repair. We've got the shield removed. I would normally try to make haste on this and get to this a little faster than I did because I like to remove the shield and then remove Tristar sort of all in one heating. But that's difficult to do while recording a video. So, okay, so the first thing I do is I trim around Tristar to try to make sure when I pick it up that all the stuff around it doesn't come with it. And you got to be careful of these little dudes under here. They're like 01005. You can't even hardly tell they're there. See here, these little guys? So we trim around Tristar. And then we're going to heat it up good and hot and give it a good flicking. Okay, so here we go. Up we come. Notice my air is pointed away from the NAND. And what I'm doing, I'm checking to see when its balls are melted. There we go. Nice and easy lift there. Now with this board still hot, I'm going to go ahead and apply some Chip Quick SMD 291. And then we're going to swish away all the garbage here. There we go. Now I'm going to use some 99% isopropyl alcohol. And we're going to get rid of all this garbage here. Yep, here's what you get for planning. I thought, oh, this guy has an issue after an update. Cool. And this was like, when I first read his ticket, I thought he was, I've seen it before. Like every time an update comes out or, something changes, sure, it causes some issues, but it also causes a lot of issues with imagination. This is one that, when I read his description, I chalked it up as being imagination. And then a couple of days later, I had pulled my hair out a little bit with some really weird Apple logo boot loop power problems that both left here fixed and working, where I couldn't really explain where it came from, and really weird. And I thought this one might be a good opportunity to show it. Let's see. I'm going to grab some new Tristar ICs here. U1502. We need U1700, right? There's U1700. There's U1502. Stay away from U1502. It'll give you gas. So now we've got our new Tristar ICs here. I'm going to thank Rossmann Repair for these here Tristar ICs. I don't remember what I bought. Did I buy 1610A3 or A3Bs? I haven't even looked at them yet. Alright, so here's our new Tristar IC. We're going to dump this out right here. And if I wasn't recording a video, I'd be moving along at this much faster, because you don't want to let the board cool all the way down. Like, you'll save yourself a lot of headaches to do all this shit in one swing and only deal with one heating. And these are 1610A3s. They will do just fine on the iPhone 6 Plus. Alright, so we're going to add a little bit of flux. There we go. And we're going to grab our nice new Tristar IC. I'm going to line it up here and try to burn my fingers as little as possible with my short tweezers. Ow! Alright, let's go ahead and heat this. Let's... Oh, come on, wife. That's my wife trying to get a hold of me, and I need to finish my video. Alright, so now this shit's getting real. Let's apply some more flux. Alright, now I've screwed it up. Now I've got crud on the bottom of my Tristar IC. I do appreciate how easy it looks like the balls on this melted. And it looks like we may have a ball over here on the board. You know what? I don't appreciate this anymore. I think this sucks the hard one. And I think I'm going to go ahead and apply a little more flux. And we're going to clean this up once more. Given the nature of this repair, I don't want to have any questions here as whether or not Tristar went down good. Alright, so we're nice and flat there. Let's grab us one more Tristar IC. And notice I top shelved that one that I just screwed up. And I did that so that I would remember that it's a good IC. And I'll come back to it and reball it and use it. So let's try not to mess this one up. Okay. If I blow another one off the board, I quit. I'm not fixing anything else today. Now, unless I put this on there absolutely perfect, you should see a little bit of a shimmy. There it goes. A little too much of a jiggle there, but we're okay. Alright, so while this board is still hot, I'm going to go ahead and take my alcohol and a Q-tip. And I'm going to wash away this flux. The hotter the flux, the better the alcohol works. Alcohol container's getting too empty. I gotta shake it. Okay. Dry this alcohol up. If this works, I might hit it one more time with a toothbrush. Okay, so there's our PCB. Let's put this right back in my housing. No, I want a 0-volt battery. Let's use their 0-volt battery. Okay? So we're going to put this back in, let's put it in their housing. And I'm trying to minimize my jackass-like appearance here. Go ahead and hook up a power button. We're going to use my test screen because I don't want their screen dying on me while I have it and I'll have to replace it. So we're going to hook up my test screen. Before we do this, I am going to check battery voltage before I hook up a charger. So our current battery voltage is 0.34 volts. It's good and dead. And we're going to go ahead and hook up a charger. Man, I was hoping that this was going to be unique. It's going to be Tristar. And we get 0.14 amps, 0.9 amps. We got full-blown charge. And it's probably already booting because the battery's junk. Now we're most likely going to get Apple logo boot, Apple logo reboot, and I'm going to say that's because of a junk battery. Why won't you focus on the Apple logo? That looks like... Are you focusing on my hand? Okay, off. On. Maybe the battery was shorted at some time. And And I just heard a charging tone. And this phone actually booted. Now we are drawing 0.9 amps of charging current. Hey, you guys. No, no, not right now. I'm going to finish my video. You can't come play in here. Okay, so this one is very, very, very likely to be a bad battery, as well as a bad Tristar IC. One of my phones yesterday was exactly that. I had replaced the Tristar IC, and I also wound up in a situation where the battery percentage was reading radically wrong. There was some really, really, really serious shit wrong with the battery percentage. And let's see where this one's at right now. This one is sitting at, without being hooked up to the logic board, this battery is sitting at 3.2 volts. So it's like the it's like the battery's weak, and whenever it gets charging current applied to it, it just goes 3.9 and it's ready to boot. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to plug this in and verify that, and then we're going to try a different battery. So this was a Tristar failure, but the battery is also bad. Alright, so we were at what, 3.1, and now we've got charger hooked up. We're at 3.35. Are we getting a charge icon, or we're getting a boot? So the actual voltage is 3.3, but this phone thinks it's sufficient enough to boot, and it's not going to boot. It's going to wind up causing a boot loop issue. So we're going to kick his battery aside. I'm going to grab the known good battery here out of my test housing. If I can finagle it in here somehow. And we're going to get a voltage reading here. We're going to see that it's at almost 4.1. So we're going to prompt this to boot using the charger. Okay, we get an Apple logo, so let's go ahead and let this thing boot up. Okay, we get Apple logo, blank screen, Apple logo, and then this time it's going to boot. I'm telling you, I had 3 power-related phones yesterday, and they were all iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. They all ran me through this kind of shit getting them solved. And it was a typical Tristar was smoked, replaced Tristar, but there was also a battery issue. And I don't know, there's probably a little more digging here. I might even get laughed at because I have done no research as far as what all this update does. I just know it looks significantly different. One of the 6 Pluses I had yesterday, it was weird. It was giving me all sorts of charging problems. The current draw was off the charts. It was drawing almost 2 amps of current through the USB after boot, and the thing was hot and it was laggy. It was typical for a main power line shorted somewhere, but not shorted enough to cause it to not boot, just enough to make it run like crap. And this thing, it was like, it's hard to explain. It was laggy. The touch, it wouldn't register every line. It would skip, like if you drag the bar down from the top, it would skip, 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 skip. So immediately I thought, oh yeah, big surprise there, an iPhone 6 Plus with touch problems, but that all went along with running hot. The lock button was kind of working off and on, so maybe it was an intermittent 1V8 short? I don't know. I rebooted the phone, and the problems went away. No more high USB line current draw, no more finicky touch. Everything was spot on, and the phone seemed to be perfectly fine. So, as you see here, this one here, it has been verified to have a bad Tristar IC. I replaced Tristar, and now it will charge the battery, but it won't charge the battery that came with this phone. It's the percentage reporting is wrong. So I think Apple has changed some things as far as how the battery communicates with the phone, and maybe, I don't know, maybe some ratios are different, or there's something significantly different with iOS 7, but I haven't completely laid my finger on it yet. So if you all want to put me in my place and tell me what all I'm overlooking, just feel free to leave comments below. So guys, this thing booted up. This is going to be, and we're at 81%. That's good enough for the voltage level that I checked. This thing booted just fine, but you'll realize, and you've seen, it didn't just boot. It went Apple logo, blank screen, Apple logo, and then it booted. And I've been seeing this a lot with iOS 11. So that's, I don't know, maybe that's normal behavior now, right? I'm sure everybody else out there knows, and I don't know yet because I don't watch any news. Anyways, everybody, that's going to be it for this video. I do hope you have successful repairs, and I really thank you for watching. Thanks for clicking like, and I will see you next time. Have a good day, everybody.